What's going on, guys? It's been a while since I've done a video like this, just chilling in front of the camera. I'm going to review a single volume of manga, and old school fans may remember the whiteboard, which I brought back. I resurrected it from beyond the grave to bring back for this video. The whiteboard has been gone for so long. If you honestly remember, if you've been around this long that you remember the whiteboard, I thank you so much for sticking around with me for this long. That's amazing. So I did a little drawing of Claire. I think my artistic skill is pretty damn good. In fact, I've been in touch with Kentaro Miura's assistants, and I'm thinking about joining their team to help continue Berserk. So this is definitely something that you might see from me in the future. So anyways, Claymore Volume 1. So Claymore is a manga to me that's been recommended quite a few times, and I didn't really know a whole lot about it. I knew a couple of things. I actually did a promo for a figure collectible for Claymore, which I figured would make sense for my channel since a lot of people seem to have been recommending it to me, but it's been a while since I've got around to it, and I figured I would check it out. Tried Volume 1, I read it, and a lot of people have kind of sold it to me, or tried to sell it to me, saying it's kind of like the shonen Berserk, that it has a lot of Berserk vibes. And personally, that doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. I'm not actually even that huge of a medieval, like, sword and sandal type vibe story guy anyways. Does that make sense? Not coherent. This is off the cuff, by the way, if you haven't noticed. So that's not necessarily something that would draw me to a manga, at least as far as the world building and as far as the genre it takes place in. If you say it's similar to Berserk, talking about the sort of deep, darker themes that Berserk covers, that's a little bit more my style. And some people have been a little bit saying that yes, Claymore does delve into that, or Claymore sort of, it gets better as it goes along and everything, and it's definitely worth the journey of experiencing. And I've also heard that the manga is a lot different than the anime. And since I have pretty much turned into a manga-centric channel when it comes to reviewing, and I don't have a problem with that at all, especially since it does give you, like, the original creator, the original author's actual vision, their original intention before it was turned into animation. So pretty stoked about it. Also stoked to read a shonen because it's been a while. But right off the bat, I really did enjoy the kind of premise and the setup that this manga gave us. It does take place in a medieval world, and also there are these creatures called Yoma. They're basically like demons, and they don't really particularly look like, Japanese style demons or sort of like medieval creatures that I've seen before, but they are very humanoid. And there doesn't seem to be, at least yet, a whole lot of variation in their appearances, but I do like how they can assimilate to human form and sort of like mask themselves as somebody and then be able to infiltrate and, manipulate people, draw them in closer and that sort of thing. So in a way, it sort of reminds me of like, I may be way off base here, but it kind of reminds me of like vampires, like at least from like Buffy the Vampire Slayer lore, right? So it looks like the person, sort of took them over. It's not the person themselves. It's like legitimately the Yoma, but they take on the persona of the person, draw people in, whether they pretend to be someone's older brother or family member or something, and sort of prey on them one by one and can kind of change their form as they go along. So I thought that idea is really cool. That also sets up a whole lot of shit that can go down further in the manga, that if the Yoma can disguise itself as, one of the main characters and infiltrate or something like that. So there's a lot of things you can do with sort of that shape-shifting ability. So I thought that was really cool. And then what they did with the protagonist, so Claymore. The only thing I know that a claymore is a sword, and a really big fucking sword to begin with. And the premise of this is basically that there is this group of people, all women, by the way, because apparently they tried this sort of assimilation with men and it didn't work. So I'm very curious to see how that's explained, if it is, and the assimilation process. So essentially what it is a human person, a human woman, that has been either infected or adapted or given the abilities of the Yoma themselves. So they're sort of like a half-human, half-demon hybrid, essentially. And they're considered claymores because of the swords that they use and the skill that they have, though they did not give themselves that name. So I don't believe it's like an organization so far. I'm not sure. But it does seem like they do this particular task of eliminating the rest of the Yoma for as long as they possibly can until the infection grows too strong and they become one themselves. So they do go to a particular point in time where it's like the demonic part of themselves. Actually, let me go back. So basically what it is a human starts out as a human person, from what I understand. I could be wrong. I've only read Volume 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's like a human person that can only be female for some reason that we're not sure of yet, that has been somehow infected with the Yoma blood and flesh and has taken on the Yoma's strength, like strength and speed and extra abilities, allowing them to wield a claymore, which is like 2 times the size of the main character, who is still like a very skinny, accurately drawn woman right there, named Claire, who is pretty gorgeous, by the way. As far as, yeah, anyways. So she's able to take on the abilities, and the more she uses them, the more likely it is that she will be eventually taken over by the Yoma itself. And at that point, she would need another claymore to kill her, essentially. So they want to be able to, she wants to be able to, they all want to be able to have the choice to die either as a human or as a Yoma. So they sort of live this wandering lifestyle, going from place to place, eliminating the true Yomas until the point where they're about to become one themselves, and then they willingly sort of commit harakiri. They don't kill themselves, though. I don't know if they can't kill themselves or if they just prefer to be taken out by another claymore. But I kind of like the really tragic lifestyle or life cycle that brings up in this story, because it kind of like leads itself to being there's no escape from this, and I like that premise and I like that setup. So I like this idea of sort of the endless wanderer wandering the wasteland, you know, defeating the demons, and then knowing that eventually, no matter how many demons you kill, the one that you can't kill, assumingly, is yourself. So there's sort of like a deep, dark tragedy involved with that, and it kind of makes sense when you see the main character, Claire, who's on the cover there, and, you know, throughout this manga, she's sort of just traveling from town to town, killing the demons, but she doesn't really have any particular emotion involved with it, and it sort of makes sense in the sense that it's like a life that, even if she chose it, it's a life she can't escape from, so she can't go back on her choice. You know, so she's been fucking loud cars. I can't wait till I move. Oh my god. It's like less than a month. I'll be moving to a new house. Anyways, so yeah, so like I said, I like the tragedy of it, and I like how that reflects with Claire's character and her persona, that she doesn't seem too thrilled about the things that she's doing, and she sort of has this back and forth. She has moments where in the heat of battle, you know, it'll draw her a little bit more exaggerated with the Yoma characteristics, you know, such as there, like in this panel right there, if you can see that. And then there are other times where she sort of has a little bit of a human connection, but you're wondering how much humanity she still has left. Now, it is a sort of a trope in a lot of Japanese like manga that I've read so far about assimilating with a demon or having a demonic part of yourself. Obviously, probably originating with Devilman, and I know like the newer mangas like Jujutsu Kaisen kind of does something like that. I think there was something like that in Naruto, I think. I'm not like a big Naruto fan or anything, but there's been that in just themes in general, even with like Berserk, you know, even though it's not a literal demon, you have like the Beast of Darkness within Guts, which sort of represents like the darkness within him and like the trauma that he went through. And so a lot of times that stuff is kind of used to represent, you know, the darker side of humanity, but we're using demons as sort of like an allegory of like what it means, you know, to face that darkness, and, you know, how far into it are you willing to push yourself and stuff like that. So I like themes like that, and I think that's a really cool premise for this manga to have moving forward. Again, I'm not going to say that's like cliche or anything, because a lot of other manga do it, because I think Claymore is actually sort of like an OG as far as this goes. Also, I think it's really cool that this is a shonen manga, because it's been a while since I've read any shonen, so I kind of want to read a good one, because there's a lot of newer shonen that I'm just not a fan of. So excited about that. Also, the fact that there is a female main character, I think that's pretty cool too. Also, Claire so far is a badass. She's beautiful. Seems like she's going to have a bit of a tragic backstory and stuff. Hopefully they get into that a little bit more. But I like her. I like her so far as a character. The only other main character we really meet in this is Raki, I think his name is, or Rocky. I don't know. Correct me in the comments of how to pronounce him. And this is sort of like, he sort of represents what I feel is like the standard shonen young boy protagonist, where he's kind of he's had the tragic past as well, like his parents were killed by the Yoma, and he sort of is trying to follow Claire around. I don't have a problem with that in particular, because it feels like, since Claire doesn't speak very much and she's sort of like a silent character, that Raki, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, that he's going to be sort of that vessel for the audience to sort of like speak to us as to like how to move the story forward and everything like that, since Claire is very silent. And you need a character like that if you're going to have a silent character. They did the same thing, sorry to bring it up again, but in Berserk originally when it started, Guts was a very silent character, and they had Puck basically represent, you know, the character that was asking the questions that the audience wanted to ask. Why are you like this? Why are you doing this? Where are you traveling? You know, why are you killing these creatures and stuff like that? So you need a character to balance that out. My only negative of this, well, sort of two. One is that this read very fast. I read this in like less than a half an hour, and I was trying to like take the time to look at all the images and stuff too. The thing is that there's a lot of images that don't really have like a lot of backgrounds to them, so there's not a ton to look at, which is fine. I'm not knocking the art at all. Actually, I really like the art style, especially when it gets into those like very intense moments with Claire and whatnot. I'm digging the art style. I got no problem with that. But it read very fast, and also that there is a lot of exposition where things are just very like verbatimly kind of given to you rather than getting it through context clues. And that's okay at times, but I just hope that the entire manga isn't like that moving forward. So it's not really a negative now. It would only be a negative if that's how it does exposition throughout the entire manga. But that's all it is so far. Other than that, I really, really did enjoy this. I'm glad it's been recommended. I'm glad that I picked it up. Volume 1 of Claymore. If you guys haven't checked it out, I would recommend it so far. So I'm going to see how this video does, and then kind of decide how I want to move forward reviewing this after that. Because there was a point in time on the channel where I was reviewing manga pretty much volume by volume, and you guys seemed to vibe with that. But I was at a much lower subscriber count at the time. Now that it's jumped up and I've tried to do individual volume reviews, I find that those videos don't really do well. And the problem is that YouTube punishes you when they don't do well. So basically, if you get a video, if you pump a video out and it's like your 10 out of 10, like your 10th most popular video within your last 10 videos, then it starts to suppress it in the algorithm. So if you make multiple videos like that, like the monster reviews, so the next monster review that comes out, because it has all the same tags and because it's all the same type of video, it's going to start suppressing it in the algorithm again as well. So basically, it screws your channel over to do that, to continue with it. So it's not good for your channel, and the more like downward slope that your channel starts to go, the more hidden your channel starts to become. So it's dangerous now, right? Now that I'm like trying to make more income and more of a living off of YouTube. So now I have to be more conscious of how the algorithm works. So here's my thing with Claymore is that I will have no problem reviewing this volume by volume, but I'll only do it if this video gets to like, let's say at least 3,000 views in the first week. Other than that, I'm probably going to hold off and I'll read it just at my leisure, and I'll review the entire series as a whole, as I've been doing with the last few manga I've read. So let me know if you want to see volume by volume Claymore reviews, and I will do that kind of moving forward, and I'll spoil the shit out of the volume as I review it, and I'll get into like as deep a details as I can. Other than that, if this video doesn't do well, then I'll just hold off on that for now, and I'll review the series as a whole. So you guys let me know in the comments with the thumbs up and all the stuff that kind of helps out the videos. Other than that, guys, thanks a lot for watching this video. I do appreciate it, and thank you for recommending me Claymore, because I really, really did like the first volume. Excited to see where it goes moving forward. Other than that, guys, please like the video, comment, subscribe if you want to stick around and see more reviews. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you next time. Look at my beautiful drawing. Look at it.